I've been harassing these bumblebees. I'm going to stop for a while. You ever find yourself harassing wildlife in an attempt to make other people interested in it? If you saw this plant growing in your yard or anywhere close to where you frequent, like maybe your workplace, you might see it and be fast to remove it once you take note of these large yellow spines that cover not only the fruits but the stems and the leaves of this plant. You might not recognize it as a member of the nightshade family, a cousin of the tomatoes and potatoes and solanaceous friends that you love so much, but this is Solanum rostratum. They call it buffalo burr. So you can recognize this plant by a number of things. First of all, it only likes disturbed sites, seemingly. So if you have any soil that's recently been kicked up near a construction site or anything that has been recently disturbed by fire or digging or some other sort of disturbance, this plant is probably quick to move in, which means that the seeds can remain dormant in the soil for some time. Another thing to look at is these very deeply lobed leaves, these sort of round lobes on the leaf. Also, of course, the spines. So we have sparse spines on the leaf surfaces, but then more dense spine activity on the stems, and particularly on the fruits. You'll notice we've got very very dense spines here on the fruits. This yellow flower is very prominent, and you'll notice these exerted. We have 5 lobes on the flower here, 5 corolla lobes, but these exerted anthers are also differentiated. We've got 2 different types of anthers here, and I believe, based on what I've been seeing with these bumblebees, is that we have buzz pollination occurring. So we actually have anthers that are modified to only distribute pollen to the bee whenever they buzz. And we'll see if we can catch that on camera. So as you might have guessed, a reason to not remove this plant from your yard is that it's a very great plant for our native bee species, particularly the bumblebees. And we'll see if we can get them on film. Interesting. So, did you see what he did? He just went from these yellow flowers here, this is Solanum rostratum, to that purple flower there and did the same thing. That's Solanum elagnifolium, a much more common nightshade, the silverleaf nightshade that we get in the area, that occurs not only in disturbed sites, but also in sites that have been fairly undisturbed for quite some time. So if we can get in here for a moment and try to appreciate the flower of Solanum rostratum, I believe we have 4 stamens up top that are pretty standard. We've got like yellow exerted stamens, these anthers here. And then underneath, this purple tongue-shaped thing, I believe is a modified anther. So this is what helps facilitate that very specialized buzz pollination that's evolved over hundreds of thousands of years with our native bumblebees. So what happens is the frequency of the buzz that the bee makes helps trigger the release of the pollen, right? So it's not just lost in the wind. And then I believe this little more delicate piece here is the stamen, but I could be, or I'm sorry, the pistil. I could be mistaken. But yeah, this beautiful evolutionary process just kind of occurs with disturbance and rain, and then we get to enjoy it. And if you're afraid of accidentally walking into this plant, just watch where you're going, and you don't have to remove it. If you're interested in collecting seeds for this wonderful native plant, there is a seed collection opportunity coming up in the Wichita Falls area in the coming weeks, so please stay tuned to our social media for updates about that opportunity. So sort of an update, if you can call it that. Resplantsibility is undergoing some changes. We're currently operating as a 501c3 nonprofit, trying to create conservation efforts for native plants in public spaces, whether it's preserving native plants that are already in a space or creating spaces for native plants where they can be appreciated and admired, and hopefully strike some inspiration in some other people to help foster native plant communities and the wildlife that they support. If you are more interested in ways to support us, you can follow us on Facebook or our other social media outlets. We'll have updates as more events like seed collecting or other conservation efforts come along. We might try to do some invasive species removal just to try to get a couple of events under our belts, and then we're going to start looking at creating these spaces that the public can enjoy. So please stay tuned for that and follow us on all of the social media.